Hello, everyone.
Hello there.
Recently, the whole subject of collages came to the fore, quite involuntary almost, because we didn't plan it, but uh, on certain retreats, silent retreats, we found that it played a huge role in the spiritual direction sessions. Um, and in books that you are reading, it's just as if collages are surfacing again.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's a tool that is actually underestimated. It's such a powerful tool in terms of looking at your life and just sort of picking up on where you are, uh, where would you like to be heading, what's already there, what's missing, um, and it's such a nice and a playful thing. It looks like it's innocent, but it's actually extremely powerful.
Mm, mm. Yeah, and I think it's very important that you mentioned there, or what you mentioned there, the whole issue of one can often think, but this is child's play. This is not worth my
You can't be
attention.
serious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And maybe that's exactly the point. We aren't serious. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
uh, we are serious about not being serious.
yeah.
Because often that is where the birth takes place, where the truth slips in through the cracks and
Where
so on.
where you get in through the back door, with so many of these creative exercises, where your logical brain doesn't exactly know what's happening and it switches off, and you get access to your subconscious, to your creative side. And this is what happens with the collage, because it's very visual, and it plays in on that. So the basic idea is to take some time. If you have a morning or an afternoon, that's actually excellent. And take like a nice big stack of magazines, something that speaks to you, magazines that you love, travel magazines, foodie magazines, whatever speaks to you. And then you page through these. Don't give yourself too much time for this, because you can get lost in reading recipes and pasting them in your recipe book, and you want to just go through images and find anything that speaks to you.
It can be that a certain heading or a
Yeah, it can be a
word.
word, it can be words, images, colors, textures. Um, it can be literally anything on those pages that just sort of draws your attention. It's almost like a visual um, divina, isn't it? And so whatever grabs your attention, you just tear that out until you have a nice stack of images and things that you've torn out. And then you can either, the way that it works well for me is to go through all my images, the things that I've collected, and see if there's things panning out, maybe groups forming or colors forming, or and to just sort of put them together. And then you take a nice big piece of paper or hardboard, or if you can go A0 even, or A1 at least, and then you start pasting it on and making a collage of all these images, or a lot of these images. I find I can never use up everything that I've collected, but it's good to have a good selection, because things sort of start to develop on your collage, and something that you thought might be very important sort of takes a backdrop. So it's a very interesting process.
And don't work with rules and ought tos and this is the responsible thing that I should choose or whatever. You tap into the soul space and what resonates with you on that level, and whatever announces itself, it might astonish you, you put it there.
Yeah. Yeah. And why would you do it?
Well, I think in the first place because often we're out of touch with our deep passions. We are very responsible and very busy with full programs to such an extent that we lose contact with that deep inner voice within us, the inner longings, the inner passions, our inner loves. So on that level. Um, but I also think that it is uh, a way that God speaks to us by introducing and gently guiding us to our passions. It is an extremely powerful tool. Um, Often we see this relationship with God outside ourselves and our deep, deep sense
We
of,
also almost don't allow ourselves those
yeah.
things. We feel that we should be sacrificing our deep desires. Because I think it's a very Calvinistic approach that we were taught. But actually, those passions and loves were put there by God. So, and what God wants for us is to be fully alive. And to be fully alive, we have to be tapping in on these things that were put into us.
Yes.
That makes us happy, that fulfills us.
Yeah, and the more we get in touch with our deep passions, it's this paradox of the contemplative journey. The more we get in touch with our deep passions and our deep sense of self, the more we get in touch with God. And it becomes a very, very rich relationship. And it is good to work with a collage because from experience we know what a powerful tool it is. If you take that board of yours, your vision board, and you put it up at a place where you can often look at it on a very subconscious level, it's working.
It's almost subversive in a way. It's the weirdest thing. You might look at it for a couple of months and then it gets put away, and then years later you get it out of a drawer and you have a look at it and you are astonished by the things that you put on that collage that was not yet in your life, but that now is in your life. That you actually living in a place where that you had pictures of mountains and trees and water and foggy conditions, and here we are.
Yes.
You know, so it's truly it's just one of those things that one has to, and you don't see the results immediately, but I do think it makes you much more sensitive,
yes,
to pick up on things that's already there,
yeah,
and that you might be missing.
Yes.
You might be having Spanish dance or some sort of dance on your images, and then never thought of doing anything about it, and then you read in a magazine or in a newspaper, you read about a class close to your home, or but you're more sensitive. You pick up on the synchronicities, and I think that's also what starts that. What's the power in that tool?
And the beauty is that we discover that the eye that we look at things with is the eye that God is looking at us, and it becomes this. We become aware of the unity of things and of God loving through us. It is such an important issue.
I'm thinking now that you can almost call it a wish list to God. Where and you might not even have thought. I had once had a swing. I loved swinging as a little girl, and I sort of completely forgot about swinging. And once we did a collage, and I had the swing, this little girl and a swing, and it just came back to me in a flood. How I love that movement. And so it's very playful, and it has a lot to do with our inner child as well. But it brings back the things that really is important to me, and that I might have forgotten about
or neglected.
or buried.
So it can be a very handy discernment tool where you have to make choices. It can help in that process. And just maybe on a practical level, what I find nowadays, magazines are becoming expensive, and they're not so readily, well, I'm saying that, but you still get a lot of magazines. So if you can put your hands on them or lay your hands on them, that's fine. But what I find, it's a little bit more difficult in terms of applying it on cardboard or whatever, is I use Pinterest as well.
Yeah.
It helps me in that sense. So if you really at a dead end and you don't have magazines and so on, as a second choice, you can use Pinterest as well.
I would also go to hospice shops, and you can usually buy a whole stack of magazines for hardly anything.
So
Yeah.
do some scouting in that regard as well, because it is a very important tool and a valuable prescription that we are giving you. So treat yourself with that, and happy exploring.
Yes. Keep well, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.